Hi, I'm Dr. Lydia Sasenko, provider of oral appliance therapy for the treatment of snoring and apnea. Today I'll be reviewing how to advance or adjust your ProSomnus pH precision herpes device. This is in regards to the newest generation of herpes devices by ProSomnus. The biggest change is that you will be adjusting both sides in the same direction, and that's going from the lower to the top teeth. This is different from the older versions where you're going up one way and then coming down the other way. And the second change is that this particular generation of device has both the wrench style and the pinhole adjustment mechanism, both on each side of the device, and that gives you total preference to which of those two you would like to use to advance your device. Today we'll go over the pinhole advancing technique, the wrench style adjusting technique, also how to place elastics if you experience dry mouth or if your mouth pops open. In a hurry, make sure you check out the shortcuts in the video description below to get quick access right to certain points of the video. If you happen to find any value into this video, please do like it. It helps others find it. With this device, as with many other devices, it might be a great idea to get some cheaters, magnifiers, or some people use the iPhone camera or the magnification setting for it. But definitely some cheaters, magnifiers, extremely helpful when you're looking at all the small things to turn. So first of all, when to advance the device. But you definitely want to be comfortable at the current setting. If the apnea symptoms are still there, such as snoring, poor sleep quality, still tired during the day, morning headaches, unrefreshed in the morning, things like that. And if you are not at the maximum of your device, and if you're just starting out, you're definitely not there. So we'll talk more about that. But this device goes up to about 6 to 7 millimeters. Again, more on that later on. So most likely you would be getting two different types of adjustment tools, a wrench style and a pinhole type. So on this video, there's some pictures here of both types of these wrenches. The pinhole style, which is something that I favor, on the second to the right arrow on the far right, there's a circular tube with holes in it. That cylinder, you're going to be turning that cylinder with the pinhole. The far right, the most far right arrow on the right has a triangle on this one part. This kind of like a peg. It's more of a square peg. It has a triangle arrow on it. That is what you would be turning with the wrench if you decide to use that. It is totally personal preference, and we'll show both. So in the most current pH, you're going to be advancing, if you're moving your jaw more forward or advancing the device from the lower to the upper teeth. There's a few different ways to figure that out. So I think the easiest way is the gold screw. If your device has a gold and a silver screw, then you want to go from, this is the top teeth, is this gold. So going from the bottom to the top is the best, easiest way for me to tell my patients. There's also, I know it's a little bit harder, there's an arrow embedded right in there. You know, it's hard to see, but right in there, there's an arrow pointing up also in this direction. And then lastly, there's also a triangle right on the arm, on that metal arm. So the triangle points in the direction of lower to top. So you have a few different ways to figure it out. And you should know which way it goes up by now. By the time if you're advancing it, you've had it in your mouth for a few nights. But the upper bigger compartments go on your upper bigger teeth, and usually the smaller teeth are in the bottom, so smaller compartment. So you have one of those four ways. But I think the screw going from the lower to upper is the easiest direction. You might be getting two different pinhole type of advancement tools. I do prefer the small metal one, so that's what I'm going to be doing. And I just want to mention that some devices might have a millimeter or tens worth of screw showing already. And that might be different depending on your dentist's preference, the way it's made. Some might have been made for a full millimeter in there, some maybe less, and some none. But that if there is some space there, that would allow for somebody to go the opposite direction if they're in pain right from the beginning. Most people will be moving in the forward direction, so that's what we're going to demonstrate today. So you're going to engage that metal tool. You're going to look for that round barrel that has a holes on it and turn it in the direction from the lower to the upper teeth. And that is not a full revolution. I consider that a 1/4 revolution or a 90-degree turn. Again, you are going from the lower to the upper teeth. And it's important to count how many times you are turning this. So for our patients, we do recommend to start 10 turns once a week. But again, your dentist might recommend 5 turns every 3 to 4 nights or something different. But the big part is to remember how many turns and to duplicate the same on the other side. So on this demo, I am turning this 10 turns just to show you what happens visually with it when you get to this point. 10 turns, by the way, is only 1 millimeter, so it's not a huge amount of space or distance, but it's significant for the jaw. So I'm going to turn it over and find that barrel that has the holes in it and do the same exact thing. So I'm going to engage that and make 90-degree turns in the direction from the lower to the upper teeth. With this device, it's important to keep track of the number of turns on each side with a running total to discuss with your dentist at your next visit. The wrench has come a long way with this device. It used to slip, drive me crazy, but it doesn't slip with that little kind of part that they have in there. It definitely embeds into that square bolt. So with this, instead of using that round barrel and turning it with a pinhole, I do recommend putting your finger almost kind of like a sandwich in there. And then you're going to find that until it kind of locks on that square bolt. And literally, you're going to just turn it. Again, that's 2. It's good to keep your hand, like my hand's steady right now. I think that helps if it's down. 4. And then the last one, sorry, that one did slip. And that's 5. And you would do the same thing on the opposite side as well, looking for that part about, not the pinhole part. So let's see if I can get that zoomed in a little bit. See, there's the square one that's right in there, and that's what you're going to be turning. So it's that part of it, the first part of it. So there's going to be more of your screw showing. Let me just show you what area I'm looking at. There's like a threaded part right in this area that starts showing. And you can use a ruler and kind of just hold it against that ledge, and now it's at 2 millimeters. And it should be equal on both sides. Now, if you're just measuring and counting correctly, then you don't have to worry about measuring with the tool, but once in a while I just like to double check. So you're at 2. So you're going right from that edge to the edge, right in there. And that should be equal on both sides. So this one is correctly advanced on both sides. Again, it's a good idea to keep track of the number of turns on each side and keeping a running total to share with your dentist. Now with the pH, it is recommended to check the tightness of the 4 main screws that hold those arms down. So you would use the wrench tool and you would grip the bolt, basically the major screw, and turn it to the right is tight, and repeat that for the other 3 major screw housings. So it is recommended to do this periodically. If you could do it weekly, that would be best. At the minimum, I'd recommend monthly. There are advantages to keeping your mouth closed during sleep when you're wearing your oral sleep device. Keeping your mouth closed can help with dry mouth issues. It can also improve success rates in a moderate amount of patients. So we're going to do a quick demo on how to get help from the use of elastics on keeping your mouth closed when you're wearing your oral sleep device. What you would do is easier to wrap it around this portion first, that I have found, and then this little button here. So right in there. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. So this is the lower segment first. I do like putting it around that part first and then the screw here. So then now what this allows you to slide around when you're sleeping. So it does give you a lot of freedom of movement. There's still a lot of movement, but you definitely can't open up your mouth as freely, and that can help keep your mouth closed during sleep. You would insert this kind of like a sandwich, top in and then kind of bite into the bottom. When you take it out, if you take it out all in one piece like this, you would clean it with the elastics on, and then once a week you would remove it and put on new elastics. And to remove it, you just literally lift it off. Off you go, and then you can put on a new set. And that's it. In regards to how much to advance your device, we recommend you follow the instructions given to you by your sleep dentist, but in our practice, we usually recommend 10 turns once a week or 5 turns every 3 days. When to stop advancing your device. Most dentists will recommend that you at least initially stop when your symptoms have stopped, such as snoring, daytime sleepiness, sleep interruptions, or any other symptoms that were discussed with your dentist that are connected to your apnea. Secondly, if you have any lingering pain or in your jaw joint or your teeth, something that's just not improving, they definitely will not want you to advance any further. You might even want to go back to your most recent setting. Thirdly, you don't want to adjust past the maximum of this device. The screw that expands when you're advancing it goes up to 7 full millimeters, but in your case, there was probably 1 millimeter already built in, and each millimeter is 10 quarter turns. So when you get your device, usually you'll be able to go up to 60 quarter revolution turns or 60 90-degree turns, and keep track of that on your log, and your dentist can help you figure out if you get lost. I'm also going to cover that in the troubleshoot section on how to measure your device. And then lastly, you should be able to insert the device and be able to close, as in the left picture here, your mouth is able to close. If you go to the point like the right image where your mouth would be open and not able to close, you probably have surpassed your limit and you need to talk to your dentist as well. So after you advance your device, both sides should have equal amounts of screw showing. This one's over exaggerated, and you can definitely tell just by eyeballing that the two sides are not equal. So to kind of recalibrate you, get you back going to the beginning to get both sides equal, the most tedious, boring method, but it's easy. It's just rewinding both back to the beginning. So opposite the direction that you would normally go in to advance it, and you level out both back to the same amount. So in this example here, this is the left side, and there's just a little bit, barely any screw showing on this side. I'm going to flip it around, and on the opposite side, there's definitely a little bit more screw showing here. So I know something's off. So I'm going to start with this side, and normally you got to see the gold screw. Normally we would be going towards the gold from the bottom to the top or towards the gold screw. Now we're going to do the opposite. So I'm going to engage and find that pinhole tool, and it would be the same with the wrench. Here I'm using the pinhole one, and I'm going to go quarter revolution turns or 90-degree turns, and I'm going to count, and this is 3. This is 4 coming up, and then 5 is coming up, and I can't go any further. This is about as far as I can go. So it's 5 turns on this side, which is the left side. Then I'm going to write that amount down. I'm going to flip down, over to the other side, and then I'm going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to go from the top teeth to the bottom in quarter 90-degree turns, basically, until it's a dead stop. And then from 0, advance both sides equally to a distance you can tolerate and write down that number. The second way to level out your adjustments to make sure that they're equal is to use a measuring tool or markings that are on the actual device. Either a ruler, the markings on the screw, or there's a built-in scale. Using the ruler, that would be my primary out of these three, and measuring with either the metal ruler or with a different type of ruler. So there is a screw that shows, and measuring the screw with the metal ruler is one way that you can track. A lot of people don't know where they're supposed to be measuring, but if you hold the ruler to the edge of that screw housing, and like on this one, this is a much smaller amount of measurement space. So right in between the ledge and the base of the screw, where I'm moving it back and forth, that is the level that I would be measuring. And in this particular case, I'll just hold the metal ruler against that span. And in this case, this is a 2 millimeter span. I know it's hard to read, but you kind of get the hang of it once you know where to measure. So it's like basically from the ledge all the way to the other ledge span. Another way to measure is with the markings on the actual screw. Now, I am not sure if all the devices have this or not. It's hard to see, especially if it's not advanced far. So it's not probably my favorite way to use it, but if you start advancing it to a certain distance where you start seeing these black spacers, each spacer is a millimeter, and each space in between is a millimeter. So it should be the same amount of spacers visible, or same amount of levels of these black spacers on each side, or the same distance. So you can kind of look visually by seeing these spacers. Another way to remeasure is to use the scale that's embedded in the acrylic. Underneath this bar, you can see a 6,420 with lines in between. Each line represents 0.5 millimeter. I do find these really hard to see, these scales, so it's not typically something I do recommend to my patients. I do recommend the very first technique, which is just rewinding the device back to the beginning and then counting how many times on each side and leveling them out. That's my go-to way. Make sure you visit your dentist, even if you feel your device is working, or for help in troubleshooting and to confirm that your device is working beyond symptom relief. If you found any value to this video, please make sure to like it. It helps others find it. And for more shortcuts, cleaning tips, preventing side effects, sources for elastics, and a lot more information, go to the description in this video. Until next time, thank you.